That is a buy. We've got the nifty futures contract suggesting we're going to see a move to the upside. Let's have a look at these stock markets as they edge back toward their recent records ahead of the quarterly earnings season. Now, we saw Infosys missing first quarter estimates Wednesday. Competitor Wipro is up next to release earnings a bit later on. Let's get more on all this with Krishna Kumar Karwa, MD of Emkay Global Financial Services. Krishna, thank you so much for joining us. How important are these figures, and how could actually these numbers from Infosys ultimately move the dial, and indeed Wipro later on?
Good morning. I think if you look at the IT technology companies' numbers, I think they have been broadly the tailwinds are so strong. So the numbers, if you look at for TCS, also the numbers were decent, and for Infosys also the numbers have been decent. My sense is that the opportunity in the sector itself is so phenomenal in terms of the tailwinds. And okay, valuations are possibly slightly above average in terms of now most of these large IT companies are quoting at say around 28, 29 times FY23 earnings. So maybe the returns from most of these stocks going forward could be muted. But there's no doubt about the business tailwinds that these companies enjoy. I think the challenge that most of these companies are facing now is on the margins front, which means that the attrition levels that they are seeing or the pay hikes that they have to give to their employees, that's on the uptick. If you look at the hiring plans of most of these IT companies, they have increased the hiring for the current year. So this next 1 year is going to be challenging for IT companies on ability to service the business that they have and the costs on that front.
Absolutely. You know, it's been Indian stocks have had a great run, and I think there's a lot of appetite there in India for equities, and certainly the Zomato IPO is evidence of that. I mean, what happens then with some of these other companies? Will they now suggest that they're going to list now when they've been holding back before? I'm talking about the likes of Paytm, for instance. Definitely.
I think this is a very significant event. The way the Zomato IPO has seen the anchor investment from anchor investors across the globe. And yesterday was the first day of the subscription, and we've seen the massive subscription by retail investors. I think this shows the maturity of the Indian capital markets, which traditionally have not invested in companies where the results or the profitability of such companies is going to be backdated. Also, these are disruptive technology-oriented companies where earlier we used to always see that they were getting listed overseas. Now, a successful listing of this company would obviously give a lot of impetus to many more such companies to get listed in India. And it's very good that the Indian public market investors now have the opportunity to invest in these disruptive platform companies. Earlier, and so far they have all been funded by global private equity firms, and the Indian capital or the Indian public market investors never had the opportunity. So this is a significant event in the history of Indian capital markets. A very good listing of Zomato and the likes would spur many more such companies to get listed.
Krishna, foreign investors are also expressing interest in Zomato's IPO. I mean, they're investing in India's IPO market for the first time, for the most part of it. I mean, do you see a shift in the thinking when it comes to India's tech sector? Could it become even more attractive given the clampdown on Chinese tech?
Yeah, you rightly hit it on the head when you said that there is this challenge which many of these Chinese tech companies are facing, and that would spur many more global investors to focus on the Indian tech sector, because this is one huge market which is available to them, and the rules, regulations, etc. are very, very transparent, and we do not have knee-jerk reactions in our country. So my sense is that the valuations, or rather the investor appetite for Indian focused tech companies would grow manyfold in the coming months.
Having said that, though, India has gotten head-to-head with big tech companies like Facebook, like Twitter. Could that deter foreign investors from putting their money into the Indian tech space?
I think the way you should look at it is that India is a very vibrant democracy and we have a very strong legal system. So if any company has any challenges or any issues with any of the laws, they have the ability to challenge that in our courts and get a decision whichever way it is. So I think global investors who have been investing in India over the years, they know for a fact that the legal system can be a bit slow, but it is very, very impartial and it conducts itself in the best interests of all participants. So global investors, whoever has been investing in the country knows that the system will be very, very fair in terms of how they evaluate such challenges.
Krishna, the thing is, I just want to go back to what we were talking about earlier. Now, if we do get a lot of these unicorns coming to the market, such as Zomato and the likes of Paytm further down the road, perhaps, are you concerned about liquidity, if you will, in the secondary market?
No, not exactly. I think, yes, IPOs do absorb a good amount of liquidity, but look at the way the retail investor participation has increased manifold in the last 12 to 18 months. We have had almost 10 million new demat accounts getting opened in the last 12 months. And today the retail investors account for almost 60-70% of the volumes that are being done on the domestic cash markets as well as in the futures and options market. So what we are seeing is a resurgence or rather increasing penetration of domestic retail in our capital markets. In fact, if you look at the domestic mutual funds, they had outflows for say 5-6 months, but for the last 2-3 months they have seen very good inflows. In fact, as I speak to you, one of our largest mutual funds, the Prudential ICICI Mutual Fund, one of their NFOs, they had a record $1.3 billion of inflow into a new NFO that they had launched. Now, this is the highest ever inflow that any NFO from a mutual fund has seen in the last 25 years. So the retail participation is increasing by the day. As far as global investors are concerned, I think they will obviously be looking to invest in such kind of marquee opportunities. And global flows are a function of many global interest rates and all those things. My judgment is that good listing, good IPOs and some good listings, post-listing gains would keep the momentum going. So I don't think so that we have to worry about domestic liquidity. In the short term, there can be some aberrations, but from a medium-term perspective, I think the prospects are very good for the domestic investors and domestic capital markets.
Krishna Kumar Karwa, Emkay Global Financial Services, thank you so much for your insights today. Let's do a check on where India